Thank you so much, everyone. I'm just so impressed with our community. We found out about the opportunity to hear Maya and Dvir speak and to share their story. I think we found out maybe on Tuesday. We were able to get it out to the community on Wednesday, and you showed up. And many more people have said to us, we wish we could be there. We are recording, we're not streaming. Okay, we're recording the conversation, we're not streaming it. We didn't announce to the greater community that we were streaming it. It's important to be in person. It's important to show up and show the way that we're giving our support. It was also intentional to have this conversation after services, not in services, because I want Maya and Dvir to feel free to share the details of their story so that we remember the details of their story. And sometimes it's hard to share those details in services where we have all ages present. And I also didn't want there to be a time constraint. Also this morning, after Maya and Dvir share parts of their story, we will open up to some Q&A. This morning, we are not speaking about politics. So that's a request, our request and their request. This is a story about humanity. And so let's please keep our questions away from politics and focused on the details that Maya and Dvir share with us this morning. If you'll help me give, you have other announcements? No? Help me give just a warm welcome. I know we each want to give them a hug, but a warm welcome to Maya and Dvir. It's up to you if you want the seats or if you want, whatever you want.
Shabbat Shalom, first of all.
Shabbat Shalom.
And good. Yeah, okay.
Don't worry, we're used to all the crowds.
Okay, so Shabbat Shalom, like I said, thank you for coming. Thank you for having us. Louder?
When I'll speak, it will be louder, don't worry. I have a loud voice.
Off this? Okay. So we are Maya and Dvir from Kibbutz Kfar Aza. Thank you. We came to the US almost 2 months ago. Tomorrow we are flying back to Israel. We came just for 6 days on a delegation, and somehow we delayed our flight over and over again because we saw how important it is for people, all kinds of communities all over. Wherever we've been in New York, Washington, LA, New York, New Jersey, Baltimore.
You were in Congress? Our baby was the baby that met the most Congress people, I think, in the world.
Yeah, we came with Ziv, our son. He's 14 months. Yeah, he's the real hero of our journey. So we saw how important it is for people to hear, to know the facts, the stories, and it was also very important for us to tell our stories. And we felt the hugs and the support of the people also before we came in Israel, but especially when we arrived here from the Jewish communities. So we continued. But that's it. Tomorrow we are going back to Israel. I would say home, but we have no home, so to Israel. We just, I'm born in Kfar Aza. My family basically is from Kfar Aza, and most of us lived there. We were 6 brothers and sisters. 4 of us that were married with kids lived in the kibbutz along with my parents, each and every one in his own house.
I wasn't born in Kfar Aza. When me and Dvir started dating, I was living in Tel Aviv, which is quite the opposite than Kfar Aza. But the first time I came to visit Dvir, I fell in love with Dvir and with the kibbutz. And on the way back, I told my friends, that's it, this is the place where I'm going to live. I didn't tell Dvir that at the moment because I was still playing hard to get. But it was really, like, it's so sad for us that people know our kibbutz now as the hell corridor, or all the awful pictures that are spreading all around the world, because our kibbutz was paradise. It's very important for us to say it. We used to call it 95% paradise and 5% hell, because most of the time when it was quiet, it was just this most amazing, beautiful place. I think it's the most beautiful place in Israel, with a lot of green lawns, flowers,
fields around the kibbutz.
Beautiful houses, beautiful gardens, all was flowering. Now it's February, it's just the time for the Red South, where all of Israel used to come and see all the flowers in our area. It was very family-oriented. The kids used to go outside alone. We used to think it's the safest place on earth, right? We had no crime. We didn't lock our houses. The kindergartens were wide open. So this was it most of the time. But the 5% hell was every time we had an escalation. I'm going to say it very shortly because I don't think we have a lot of time. But an escalation it used to happen like a few times a year whenever one of the terror organizations decided to shoot rockets in Israel. We usually would have just left the kibbutz for as long as we had to, like a forced vacation of a few days up to 2 weeks. And we just went north or wherever we could, just to stay far from that area whenever they were bombing us. But this was the price we were willing to pay to live in this paradise. Now, when I think about it, it sounds pretty unlogic, I know, but I guess we all got used to it, so it was okay. Until October 7, when unfortunately it became 100% hell.
We just came back less than 48 hours before that Saturday morning from family vacation in South Africa, 3 of us, Maya, Ziv, and myself.
So it was 11 months when everything happened.
We were lucky enough to have the last time celebrating my mother's birthday on Friday. It was the first time since Passover that all of our brothers and nephews and everyone came together to celebrate there, because when you have so many kids and so many nephews, it's hard to coordinate with everyone. But we were lucky enough for the first time since Passover and the last time, unfortunately, all of us to celebrate. And that Saturday started, in our eyes, just like another escalation. I was in the morning on the way out to take Ziv with a stroller, just for a walk, to give Maya a few more hours to sleep. Maya thought it's much earlier, and she asked me to stay and put Ziv back to sleep. That's what saved us, because 10 minutes later, the rockets started to fall all around us. It was non-stop, hundreds of rockets. It was 2,000 rockets fell in our area that day, when usually it's like 50, 100, 200 during several days.
Also, usually the rockets don't, like our kibbutz is, Dvir always used to say, it's in a good place in the middle. It was like not in the way to any big city, too close for the big rockets, too far for the short rockets. So we didn't have a lot of rockets, even when there were escalations. Actually, I think Ashkelon and cities more like northern than us used to have more rockets. But that day it was something crazy. It didn't stop for a second. Like when we started, we went to the safe room. I already called my friend and I told her, listen, we think there's an escalation starting. When it's going to calm down, we'll just come to your house. But it didn't calm down for a second. It sounded like everything is just exploding right above our head.
I knew that Maya won't let us leave without the dogs. We have 2 dogs, so I went out to bring them. One of them was on a leash. I took her inside, but the other one ran away because of the explosions. So I went out to the garden, and for about 10 minutes I shouted his name. He didn't come.
We didn't know that there's like hundreds of
Yeah.
terrorists in the kibbutz at that moment already.
But after 10 minutes, I realized that the rockets are not stopping, and like hundreds of them. So I just left our front door open, wide open, and went inside to help Maya to pack. Because again, in our eyes, there is escalation starting. We need to pack and to leave. 2 or 3 weeks later, we were in Shfaim, Kibbutz Shfaim, where most of our community from Kfar Aza are staying.
I'll just say for a second, our kibbutz Kfar Aza is one of the 7 kibbutzim that are they've been declared unworthy to live in. So it will take between 2 to 3 years to rebuild these kibbutzim. Everyone in our community are displaced. No one can live in Kfar Aza. There's like one couple that went back. I don't know what they're doing there. They're cooking for the soldiers.
Supporting and helping the
cooking
soldiers.
But no one can go back at the moment to Kfar Aza, and they told us it's going to take 2 to 3 years. So for now, everyone is staying in hotels in Tel Aviv and in Shfaim.
So I met this guy that he was one of our neighbors, and he jumped and hugged us and was like, "I'm so happy you're alive. I didn't believe I'll see you again." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he told me that he was also outside when the rocket started, and he saw me standing in the garden and calling the dog, and then he got into his safe room, and his safe room window was facing our garden. And it took him like maybe 30 seconds. And when he came to close the metal window of the safe room, he saw 5 terrorists standing in our garden, exactly where I stood. And he thought that that's it, we're gone. Apparently, this is what saved us, because they probably thought that someone was already in our house because the door was open. So they just stole everything we had outside and just skipped our house and continued to our neighbors. We started to get some messages from Maya's friends.
I have a WhatsApp group with some of my friends. So they started to write, "What's going on? We're hearing Arabic outside the window and we hear gunshots." No, this was it was something unusual because, again, we knew what is an escalation round, we knew what are the rockets, but never has there been an infantry like this. And also we know there's the obstacle, which is supposed to be like the most sophisticated defense mechanism in the world that no one can penetrate. So I asked Dvir, I told him, "Listen, they're writing that they're hearing Arabic and they're hearing gunshots." And Dvir said, no, don't pay attention. They're probably just panicking. And I think before he even finished his sentence, we started to hear Arabic right outside our window, shouts in Arabic, and an automatic weapon, gunshots weapon, right outside our window.
Then we realized that a lot of the explosions we heard weren't only rockets, it was also hand grenades, RPGs, that they're shot and threw on houses and inside houses.
Now, Dvir is going to tell the story, but I'm just going to give you like the atmosphere and how the area looked like where we live. For those of you who haven't been in a kibbutz before, a kibbutz is a very small community. Our kibbutz had 900 people that day, around 900 people, and all the houses they're built very close by. It's not like a moshav that you have like a very big yard. Everyone is very close to each other. You can picture it like some sort of a resort village. You know that you have like small houses and they're all close.
Without the room service and the ocean.
Yeah. And without just old kibbutz houses. But so everything we're going to tell you is very, very close to each other. Our house is right on the way to where the young adult live, the young adult neighborhood, which was the area that was hit the most. So they didn't come into our house, but our safe room window and the safe room wall was right on that way. So the whole story that we're going to tell you, for about 24 hours, it was a non-stop battle on our safe room wall, which is, again, it's a very small room. I don't know if any of you have seen an Israeli safe room, but it's It's small, and it's just another room in the house. It was our baby's room. You can picture like your firstborn baby's room with all the love and care that you put into that room. It had a crib, and it had his toys, and like a chair that you can breastfeed in, and his changing table. But this was the room. We didn't have any battery, power banks, weapons, nothing like that. And the whole time, there was a continuous battle right outside our wall. Like right behind the wall, you hear gunshots, you hear Arabic, things are exploding on our wall. We kept on hearing gunshots hitting the window, and we kept on smelling this burnt smell. Something was burning the whole time, to a point we didn't know if it's our house that's burning or because you were blind, so we kept on touching the walls, touching the floor to see if it's our house that's burning or not.
Because we didn't have electricity.
Yeah, right. We had the electricity fell like after 15, 20 minutes. So we didn't have air conditioning, and it was a very hot day. We didn't have any light. We only have like our small baby's mipi light. I call it our Nes Chanukah, because that light lasted for 24 hours. Otherwise, we would have been in dark. And we were there with our baby like this, like with a 11-month-old baby, that we just know that no matter what happens, this baby most of you, I think, are parents here, so I think our most important mission was to keep our baby safe. That was the thing we had to do. So this was the situation the whole time.
So for about 20 hours, I just held the door, and Maya held Ziv, our son. And every time he was just trying to scream or cry or whatever, we had to put she had to put her hands on his mouth just to keep the nose open so he can breathe, but otherwise the mission was very simple. Door closed and bear be quiet. We didn't even talk to each other during this, barely. We started to get in the morning a lot of messages from friends, family, people, like neighbors on WhatsApp. Like someone wrote that one of her friends, that her husband, he was on the first response team, which is like kind of the civil guard, that he's got shot, he's bleeding to death under this tree, not far from our house. Our neighbors, 3 houses from us, texted that they're putting their house on fire, and they are with their 1.5 years old daughter with them, and they need help. They're burning them alive. Another friend texted that they shot his wife in the head, and she's dying in front of the kids. All kinds of crazy messages. In the beginning, it was like, again, no electricity, no nothing. You're blind. You're stuck in your safe room. So it started with, I don't believe what I'm reading or seeing, but it continued with the depressing thoughts of, like, people are actually dying 30, 50, 100 meters away from your house, and you can do nothing. You can't go out to help them. And especially where, like, a lot of situations, it's either your family or your friends, either your family or your neighbors. When I'm saying family, I'm talking to Maya and Ziv, which was even harder when it became my close family or my big family, with my sisters, with my parents. In some point that I crawled out to lock the door, but like Maya said, because it was such a community and safe place, I realized that I don't even know where the key is, because we never locked our house. It took me like almost 20 minutes to find this rusty key that I left, who knows when, under one of the plants. My sister, her last message, in the beginning everyone answered.
In the
family WhatsApp group. But after two hours, give or take, we realized that one of my sisters, Hadar, and her husband, Itai, they are not replying. We started to send their location and our neighbors, friends, everyone, locations and messages to whoever we knew, from the army, from the Shabak, the Secret Service, the police, and to ask for help. We were stuck with our baby. In our family, we have 9 nephews, 2 at the age of 7, 2 in the age of 4, and 5 that born 5 babies born in less than 10 months.
Hadar and Itai had twin boys, 10 months old they were at the time. They're 1 month younger than our baby. And as Dvir said, when they stopped responding, we were all very worried because we knew they're with babies, so we texted, the WhatsApp groups went crazy, so we just texted their location and just asked whoever we can to come and save them. We just forwarded all the messages of people who had terrorists in their house, asking whoever we can just come and save these people, somebody needs to come and save us. Like this, it's not a place that civilians can stay. Somebody needs to take us out.
And we slowly you get the understanding from messages what's going on. You start hearing that they're in my house, they're in my house, they're in my house. So we realize that soon enough they'll be in our house. They're opening our window, they put our house on fire, they put explosive on the handle. So you realize slowly what's going on. We didn't know the amount of the terrorists, but you're starting to get the idea of what's going to happen soon. Around noon, my sister neighbor, which was one of 12 brave, amazing people from the kibbutz, the first response team, and I want to stop just for a few seconds just for them and to honor them, because those people, once it's civilians, members from the kibbutz, that once they got the message of we think they're in the kibbutz, they just jumped out to protect us without even thinking on themselves or their families, because they actually left their families alone in the safe rooms to protect everyone. 7 of them died in the first hour. 3 of them got shot and injured very severely. One of them, even while he was bleeding under one of the buildings in the kibbutz waiting for rescue, they kidnapped his wife and 3 kids. And only 2 of them were left on their feet fighting. But later on we realized from Zaka that they collected that day more than 250 bodies of terrorists. Just from our kibbutz. And we know that on each and every one they kidnapped 5, 7, something like that. Terrorists went back with them to Gaza, which means that we had around 350 to 400 terrorists that day. So when they realized that they left only 2, they went back to their families. And he lives right next to my sister. He texted us that he saw my sister's front door open. He saw an empty AK-47 magazine, Kalashnikov, on the stairs, and that he hears that the twins are crying, screaming, crying. Again, we sent their locations and SOS messages to everyone we knew. Few hours later, after 10 or 12 hours that we are already in our safe room stuck, we got a phone call from my best friend from the Shabak. He told us, guys, I'm sorry, we are doing everything we can. Your kibbutz is under a very complicated situation. We can get to you, and prepare to spend the night. And when I'm saying prepare to spend the night, we're still with no electricity, no water, no food, no nothing with our baby. The twins are crying, which means that, like everyone, one of our sisters, we knew that they had a terrorist in their house, threw a grenade and in the morning. The other one, and she's with 3 kids, the other one also, they were twice in her house, threw grenades, shot all over, didn't get into the safe room, but it's enough that you are with 3 kids and people are throwing grenades in your house trying to get in. I even, at a certain point, told Maya that I'm going to get the twins. And she told me that it's a suicide mission, and if I leave the room, if I leave the house, there's no way I'll come back, and Ziv are not going to grow up with no father, and the twins are not going to grow up with no uncle.
I knew if he will go out, he won't survive. Like, I could hear what's going on outside. But I think that day, and I didn't know, of course, the twins are going to survive, so I didn't know. It was a very hard thing to say, telling him not to go. I didn't know if I could live with myself or if he could live with what I said. But I think the whole situation that day was built of a lot of very hard decisions, very tough choices we had to make, that no one ever prepared us for these decisions or choices, and you had really no one you can ask. Like they sent us a message at one point, the guy that's in charge of something in the kibbutz sent a message to everyone that Hamas is burning down houses in order to make us come out of the safe rooms. So if they burn our house, we should stay inside the safe room because it's better to get some burns than to be caught by Hamas. And I remember, like, we were thinking to ourselves, what are we supposed to do if they're... That's why we kept on trying to find out if it's our house that's burning or not, because if they're burning my house, I want to get out. I don't want to stay in the burning house. And we got at one point this message, this SMS, the whole kibbutz, that said, everyone stay in the safe rooms, like find shelter, because the Air Force is going to bomb the kibbutz now. And I remember, like, we looked at each other and we said, don't they know that we're here? What do you think? Like, this is the kibbutz. It's Israel. It's not even like, how can they bomb the kibbutz? And how will we defend ourselves from an Air Force attack? Because will our safe room hand the Air Force? Like, you just think to yourself, what am I supposed to do? You have no idea what you're supposed to do. But this was the situation. It was just how it went.
And everything is while I'm holding the door and she's holding Ziv. It was like, because it didn't stop, and you don't want to. First, you don't want to give up. You don't have the privilege of, I don't know, freezing or giving up, and so around evening, 8:30, something like that. We got a phone call from the same guy. From the Shabak, and he told us that the twins are safe and they've been rescued and they're on the way to the hospital. And I remember that we asked him, what about Adar and Itai? And his answer was, they are not on the abducted list. And we were actually happy because, we have this denial mechanism that whatever bad thought jumps into your head, you have straight away a good explanation and you leave it, at the side. So we were actually so happy that they are not on the abducted list that we didn't even think, what is he not telling us?
Well, I think we were in a complete denial of the whole situation the whole day. Like, we couldn't, so much is happening that your brain can't really digest everything. So you just you don't believe anything. Like, I remember seeing these messages that Dvir told you about before, and I thought to myself, why is everyone so exaggerating? Like, don't they know help is coming? You don't need to say someone is dying or someone is dead. Okay, help will come. Like, stop exaggerating. And I think we couldn't really believe. I still can't believe that this really happened. So, of course, when it was still going, we couldn't really believe that this is actually what we're going through.
And something like 20 minutes later, my brother, who lived in Tel Aviv, rang me, and he, because he was far and he couldn't help physically, he decided to open some kind of an operation room in his living room. And basically, he connected between the WhatsApp groups and all the text messages from the people in the kibbutz to the armed forces that came slowly to the kibbutz to help, because there's no street names, there's no house numbers, and in a certain point we realized that people that we knew are dying answering on the WhatsApp, which means that they took their phones. So they needed someone that knows the kibbutz, knows the people, doing the list of trying to do the lists of who's dead, who's kidnapped, who's injured, who's staying where the entrance, and when and he told me that it's confirmed that Nadar and Itai are dead.
I think
we had like a minute or two.
This was the first time I think that we cried that day. We cried for a minute or two, like Dvir said, but then we snapped out of it real quickly because, again, we're still right inside of a battlefield. Like, try to imagine. I feel like I have no words to describe to people what went on there. So just try to imagine the worst war film that you've ever seen. I don't know. I really don't know. And like, this is real life now. So we're still there. And we still have our baby to take care of. And now we know also that there's 2 babies that are somewhere. Nobody knows where they are. And we need to take care of them. But at that point, we already lost contact with Dvir's other sister that we were sure we're not going to see or hear from her again. So we really had to find out where the babies and to take care of them. And we were all still inside the safe rooms. So immediately Dvir started calling all the hospitals just to try to find out where they took the babies. Nobody knew because everything was such a chaos. And I started, because we all gave birth pretty much together and we were raising the kids together, we knew exactly what we're using. So I just made Dvir's younger brother and sister a list. Dvir told them, you need to go south. Just start going south until we tell you which hospital to go. And we made them a list of things they need to buy, like diapers, which dummies, which formula, whatever. We organized car seats for them because, again, our brain was working in a funny way, like who cares about car seats? But we found car seats for them so that they can pick up on the way. They just left to pick up the babies.
And I told my brother not to tell anything to my parents. First, because they already, at that point, they lost contact with 3 of their daughters. And we left with maybe 15% battery in our phone, which means that like in an hour or 2, they're going to lose contact with us as well. And they were in their safe room at that time. So I wanted them to keep fighting and not to give up. Later on we discovered that just like I thought it's just another escalation, so my sister. She went out to the kitchen just to fix bottles for the twins. And her kitchen window, facing the street, like this kind of a sidewalk. And they probably saw her because we were there a few weeks after that Saturday. We came back to lock their apartment and to collect some stuff for Ziv and for their twins. So the bullet holes basically shows you the whole story, tells you the whole story. And we know that they shot her through the window. They got inside and verified the kill. They found her body on the kitchen floor in her pajamas with 2 bottles in her hands. Itai, her husband, probably saw and heard everything that happened and closed the safe room door behind them with the twins. They had 2 cribs, one in front of the door and one on the side. Luckily, was smart and fast thinking, and put both of the twins on the side one, because when they tried to get into the safe room, they shot 3 bullets through the door. 2 hit Itai in the body, and the 3rd one hit the crib. And when they came inside, they verified as well on Itai, which is safe room. It's 9 square meters. It's something like 90 square feet. It's like tiny.
They crossed the room because Itai managed to reach the other side of the room. So the terrorists crossed the room. They saw the babies in the crib, of course, because you can't miss it. And they just shot him in his head right in front of his babies. They later on left the babies there, not out of mercy or goodwill or anything like that. The terrorists stayed in the house, and they just left the babies crying for 14 hours as bait. They just used them as bait because everyone who heard the babies crying tried to come and save them, and they just shot whoever tried to come and save them. They didn't pick up the babies. They didn't give them anything to eat, anything to drink. They didn't take care of them, nothing. So it wasn't any humanitarian act that they did of saving the babies. This is something that really, it's very important for us, for people to understand, because we know what they did to other babies in other places, and we know that there's a baby, a 12-month-old baby, that's now being held in Gaza. So it just served their interests. The babies, when they were fine, they were dehydrated, they were wet, they weren't dressed, they were with full diapers. So nobody really took care of them. They were just left in the same room with their dead father, with the terrorists in the house, just like that. For me, like, as a mom, this is one of the unbelievable situations, because I can't hear a baby crying for more than a minute or two without offering him something to calm him down. And these are 2 babies that are crying for all these hours, and none of them did anything to help them, which is unbelievable for me.
In our house, we don't know to say if we fell asleep or passed out, because we came back on a night flight from South Africa. Ziv didn't sleep that much, so we were tired, we were depressed, it was hot. It was dark. We didn't have any phone or anything with us. We opened our eyes at 5:30 in the morning with guns in our faces. We heard Hebrew straight away, so we understood those are soldiers. They gave us. They found all 3 of us on the floor of the safe room. They gave us 2 minutes to pack. They told us 2 minutes and we're gone. So what do you pack in 2 minutes? And even when we tried to grab some things, they told us that the combat is still going, is still on.
We had to stay away from the windows. You can't just walk freely in your house, even though you're with soldiers in your house.
And we were sure that they're taking us out of the kibbutz after 24 hours. But apparently they didn't have enough armed vehicles, so they took us to a different building, which was like the student building, like tiny apartments, 2-bedroom apartments, maybe 50 meters
maybe
away.
the distance, like from one corner of the room to the other. We were walking there by foot. Dvir was holding our baby, Ziv. I was holding our small dog. That Dvir would never admit it, but he probably saved our lives. And the soldier was holding the big dog. And all the way, they just kept on telling us, get down, because they
pushed us to the ground every few steps.
They were still shooting at us. The terrorists, we just had, so it took us almost 20 minutes to cross.
Just to cross this,
that short distance.
almost 20 minutes. And every few steps, you just lying down on the ground, trying to keep Ziv safe, and try to figure out where Maya is, because.
And when we got to that apartment, it was a 2-bedroom apartment, a student apartment, that had 19 people in there, including us. We were the last ones that they saved from our neighborhood. Everyone were just shocked to see that we came with a baby. They couldn't believe how we could survive with a baby and how they didn't find us that whole time. We were there for about 5 more hours, again, with no electricity, no light, no air, nothing, with soldiers. The terrorists found out that apartment, so they slowly started closing on the apartment and shooting on the apartment as well. And the soldiers were very worried. They were afraid they were going to shoot an RPG or something, and that would be the end.
The whole building will collapse with us inside.
So at one point, the soldiers went out to fight the terrorists that tried to hurt the apartment. Some of them, like I remember one came back wounded, but luckily they won. And around 9:30, 10, I think. 10:30, they came back with armed vehicles, and they took us out of the kibbutz.
It was the first time, basically, that we saw a bit of what happened, because when they took us out, we crossed the kibbutz. And I remember the car had to go between bodies, and the smell of the buildings around and the cars, that people were still sitting there, dead. And that was crazy. It all started at Saturday, 6:30 in the morning. They took us out of the kibbutz at Sunday at 10:30 in the morning, and the combat finished only at Tuesday at 5:30 in the afternoon. We lost that Saturday 63 members of our kibbutz. 18 people got kidnapped to Gaza. 11 of them came back on the different deals. 2, unfortunately, died in Gaza from a crossfire. So now we have 65 dead, and 5 of them are still there, along with another 131 people.
Our kidnapped people are in Gaza right now are Keith Segal, who is 64 years old. He's a father, he's a grandfather. He's also an American citizen. There's 5 American citizens who are being held right now in Gaza. We have Doron Steinbrecher and Emily Damari, a 30-year-old and a 27-year-old woman, beautiful women, that were both supposed to come back on the last deal that Hamas has broke at the last minute. And we are very worried, why wouldn't Hamas let these women out? We heard stories from hostages that came back. So we know what's going on there. We know they're going through all sorts of torture. So we're very worried about them. Doron was actually on a video that Hamas has released yesterday, which was the first sign that her family got from her.
After 110 days, this was the first sign that her family got that she's alive and there.
But again, we're very worried because we've seen what happened after videos were released before.
And we have Ziv and Gali, 26-old twins brothers. Their father is dying, and he wishes to say his goodbye before he's going.
I think our main mission when we're here in the United States, and this is why we kept extending the stay and just trying to get to as many places as we can, is we're trying to get the kidnapped people thing to stay the top priority, to stay the top agenda, and we need everyone's help in that subject. For us, it's unbelievable to think that there's 106 people who are being held
136.
136 people who are being held against their will, who were kidnapped from their homes in a Saturday morning. Like, just try to think about one of your loved ones, that in a Saturday morning, someone would come to your house and take you. It was summer that day, it was still hot, so a lot of them were in short pajamas. Now it's winter in Israel, it's very cold. Some of them were barefoot. In all that time, they don't have any Red Cross visits. Even the medication that Israel has sent now, we didn't get any confirmation that they actually got it. Some of them are wounded. They are missing limbs. Some of them are old. They don't have their medication. Some of them are sick. These are people that need to be back now. They're not supposed to be a part of any deal. They're not a part of any war. These are just citizens that were taken from their homes. So for us, like, we can't believe, why isn't the world shouting this? Like, anything that needs to be done with Gaza can be done, war, ceasefire, we don't care. But these people, they need to be home now. We don't have a day or a week or a minute. They just need to be home now. So this is what we're asking from all of you, to help us share this message. Be our voice, spread the word. This is the most important thing. These people have no time. Every minute that they're there, unfortunately, a woman is being raped and someone is probably being tortured, killed. We don't know what. They just need to come home now.